In the summer of 2021, Netease released the beta for their mobile game Project M. And this was just 1 year after Riot released Valorant, the next big thing in all of FPS games. And immediately following this, Project M was hit with all kinds of criticism for being a direct copy of Valorant. But we'll get into that. Controversies and pending future lawsuits aside, on July 18th, 2022, Project M would officially release to the name Hyperfront. And while Netease really wanted to hit the ground running trying to capitalize off of the success of Valorant, the end of the story is not quite so happy for them. I'm Justin from the hit YouTube channel urnotjustin, and this is Hyperfront 1 year later. Before we showcase the direct comparisons and copying that Netease did from Riot, we have to go into their past and delve deep into their previous experiences with other games. What games did Netease get big off of, you may ask? Well, here's a list of just a few of them. In 2017, Netease made Rules of Survival, which is a PUBG ripoff, which they did get sued for, and the servers for that game just shut down. In 2018, Netease saw that Fortnite was really big, so they made their game Creative Destruction. And while they weren't sued for it, they ultimately had to shut down the servers for that game because nobody was playing it anymore. Also in 2018, Netease released a game called Operation Windcloud, which was supposed to be a copy of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, if you can actually believe it. And even just briefly explaining some of these games that Netease has released over the years, it's very obvious to tell that Netease just copies and copies and copies, and that is their revenue machine, and that's exactly what Hyperfront was. And now that you understand the Netease formula, we can finally start looking at Hyperfront versus Valorant and how and why deservedly so Netease got sued and ultimately had Hyperfront die just 1 year after its launch. Netease specializes in making quick, copycat, mobile versions of games that exist that are very popular, and unfortunately, Valorant fell victim to this. From the very get-go, at the start of Project M, it had absolutely blatant copies of Reyna and Sage, which I talked about in my very first video about this. And I want you to keep in mind, this is only the beta that we're talking about right now. So I had to travel to the dark side and play Hyperfront for myself to see exactly how much of a copy it was, and to maybe even learn some things about what Hyperfront is doing uniquely. And these are the things that I found out.
Welcome to Alpha Base. I'm your smart assistant, Mia. I'll be guiding you through the rest of your training until you are ready for the battlefield. Let's start moving.
After you
now.
finish the tutorials on Hyperfront, you unlock the character that you play in the tutorial, which is the Sova clone, Faith Arrow. And immediately we'll be greeted with the first copycat ability of the full game, and that is the Scout Arrow, which is just Sova's recon arrow, as you can see on the screen here. Alongside the Scout Arrow, there is the Damage Arrow, which is a Molotov arrow, which is just essentially Sova's Shock Dart, but with an added twist of it also being a literal Molotov. And of course, we have Faith Arrow's ultimate ability, which, what could it possibly be?
Good job.
Earlier, you'll recall that I showed off a Reyna and a Sage clone, and you may be wondering, well, what about them? Are they even in the game still? Our friendly Sage clone, Elixir, was repurposed into a character called Cure Light. As for the Reyna clone, it got to stay in the game, but with a few additional changes. Let's take a look.
Humans seek power like plants seek sunlight.
When Netease shut down the servers for Hyperfront, they also scrubbed any and everything from the internet about Hyperfront, including all of their social medias. Both the Reyna and Sage clones were in the beta for Hyperfront, and at the very beginning, egregiously copied both of those characters. Mind you, this was before the lawsuit happened, so I would guess that they had to go through and really cover their tracks knowing that a lawsuit was coming, especially with a character like Elixir that looks exactly like Sage. And it doesn't just end there. Elixir and Blood Raider weren't the only ripoffs that Netease had in mind. They have Nemesis, which is supposed to be Omen, and with a sad attempt to make it look different, they also gave him some of Yoru's abilities. For the most part though, it's just Omen. There's a character called Valkyrie, which is just Killjoy, that has a deployable turret, and something interesting that they included with this, something slightly unique, is a shield that this character can deploy as well. And in another sad attempt to mask the copying, they gave this character Brimstone's ultimate. Believe me when I say that every single character from Hyperfront, which ironically enough uses the same Unreal Engine that Valorant uses, is just a mix and match of everything from Valorant. Hyperfront wouldn't be a mobile game without microtransactions. And since it's supposed to be a clone of Valorant, I was curious what skins and buddies that they had on the game. And while the buddies weren't too crazy, the skins were actually a little bit surprising. Okay, I can't. I'm commentating for this right now, but like, even now, it's still so...
Today is a good day.
Stop it!
For taking a break.
The skins on Valorant are some of the best skins in all of gaming. And when I looked at the skins for Hyperfront, I was pleasantly surprised with some of the things that I saw. However, as well, I was a bit disappointed and not so shocked at all with some of the sleaziness and cheesiness of the skins in their game. I don't want to compliment this game too much, but it is really cool that they have intro animations for the skins when you go to preview them. And while some skins are supposed to appeal to the lowest common denominator, there were also some real gems in this game, but all it really did was reinforce the fact that it reminded me of Valorant. And with the few good things we just talked about, there is a few bad things as well with the skins on this game. This entire video is about plagiarism, and for the most part, a lot of the skins on this game don't copy too much from Valorant. However, there is a few exceptions. Out of all the skins in Valorant that they could copy, they copied the Depths collection from the Battle Pass a really long time ago. And for some reason, they also copied and pasted essentially what is the Crimson Beast collection from Valorant here on Hyperfront. Ever so slightly different. It's just more of the same old from Hyperfront and Netease. They have their version of the Elder Flame stuff with the Elder Flame dagger here called Dark Monarch. They have a hybrid of Cryostasis and Mage Punk with a hammer called the Mechanism Doomsday. They tried making their own glitch pop butterfly knife. And besides all that stuff, there's just a bunch of crap in the game. You can definitely see by looking at all this stuff that there was some semblance of creativity that went into all of this, but for the most part, it is just recycled Valorant stuff that we've already seen that's trying to be sold to other people. On Hyperfront, I played 6 games and got 73 kills with 6 match MVPs. I won 100% of my games and only died a small handful of times. And truthfully, the existence of Hyperfront only served to slight Valorant at every single turn, whether it's making similar skins in your game or having nearly identical gameplay. Netease spared absolutely no expense in trying to be the first one to do things before Valorant did it, as well as copying everything that they already did do. We talked about all of the obvious copying, and we talked about a little bit of the cool things that they did with this game, but one of the more interesting things that Hyperfront has that Valorant doesn't is a working replay system. Yeah, that's exactly right. Hyperfront has replays and Valorant doesn't. At the end of the game, there is post-match replays of all of the best plays from the entire game, not just one, showcasing any best play from the match. And then, after the game is over, you can go through and literally look at a replay of the entire game. This is very bare bones, and again, I am not trying to give them too much props for this, but the fact that this game, this mobile game, has a replay mode and Valorant doesn't is sort of insane, and honestly leads me to believe that it's not bad enough that this game was able to come out on mobile before Valorant could, but they even added in replay, again, just to be first to it before Valorant could have the glory of doing that themselves. And on April 10th, 2023, Hyperfront shut down after less than a year of officially being out. After a lawsuit that only started in December of 2022 alleging that Netease substantially copied parts of Valorant. And while the lawsuit is still ongoing at the time of this video, I wouldn't bet on Hyperfront ever coming back. Through and through, the existence of Hyperfront was sheerly to spite Valorant and Riot. While the corporation that owns Riot, Tencent, has found lots of success in the gaming world, Netease will always lag behind them. You could have all the money in the world to create somebody else's product, you could even put in features into your game like a replay feature before Valorant does it, all while hosting said ripoff on mobile platforms before the game that you're ripping off can do it. At the end of the day, all products like this will always only be cheap imitations at best. If you made it this far into the video, I would really appreciate it if you left a like on this one because I spent a lot of time researching for this. And if I learned anything from this video, it's that you can be really creative and make a really good product that people really enjoy. And no matter how good it is or how hard you worked on it, there will always be somebody else out there with more money than you who will pay others to recreate your product for you. Leave a comment down below. As always, I'm Justin and you're not. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and click the bell for notifications so you do not miss a single banger from me ever. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.